Round 9, Warriors finally back home in front of a sold-out crowd, up against the Roosters again, second time this year. Let's see if the boys can get back on the winning wagon. Hey team, welcome back to the Warriorholic. Nice to have the boys back at home at Mount Smart there in front of a sold-out stadium, looking to get back on the wagon after a tough loss against the Storm over there in Melbourne. I think we could have taken that, but for a few, too many injuries, a few too many dodgy ref calls, a few too many dodgy bounces of the ball. But they really fought hard. They were in that game right up into the last couple of minutes. The guys were actually, asses hanging out with all four of our bench injured, with no one there to come on and fill the gaps. But they would have taken a lot of heart out of that. So to push the Storm that close on Anzac Day over in the Storm pit there, it's just, we really wanted those 2 points, but shit, we didn't get them. Losing CNK, Tohu, Jazz, potentially Ciro. At the moment he's in there, but you never know with these head knocks. And luckily we didn't lose Dylan Walker there. He didn't get suspended after the successful appeal, so that was a positive. But tough loss. Roosters, they had a very lucky win there up against the Dragons. They started with a hiss and roar, played some good footy, but man, they let the Dragons come fighting back into them there. Their left edge was absolutely leaking like a sieve there. Suali'i and Kerry there were just absolute mud on defence there. Moses Sully and Sloan just basically carved them up. So there's a good opportunity for our right-hand side there to do the same to them this weekend. They created a couple of pretty well-constructed tries. JWH there drawing a couple of players in and a little bump off there to Radley to go in under the post. I don't think we let that one in. We were a little bit tighter in there around the ruck under our own post. Another one we have to watch out for is Cheese skipping out the two running forwards out to Radley, 3 wide, and then him little pop pass to Butcher to run through a gap, and then drawing past to put Tedesco under the post. So that was a really well constructed try, and we'll have to be careful of that one. But the rest of them, I don't think they were overly flash. There wasn't a whole lot of shape there. It was just the Dragons left some pretty big holes. So I feel like our defense is going to be a lot more difficult to bust, even with, a few guys out there. So, it's going to be an interesting game. Those guys are going to have to play their ass off, and I think we're going to have to struggle in order for them to beat us at home. So let's take a little bit of a look at the history, even though it is the second time we've played them this year. 43 games in total to date, 21 each and 1 draw. We played them back in round 2, and they got the 20-12 victory, which was a bit of an annoyance. I think we had it, had the ability to beat them there, but we just didn't deliver in some of those big moments in that last quarter. We definitely had them for gas, but we just struggled a little bit to execute. So I don't think there's anything for us to be intimidated by these guys. We should have beaten them then, and I think we've got every chance to beat them this weekend. We're sitting on 5 out of 8 wins, and they're 4 out of 7 with the bye so far. For and against is really interesting for me. 174 for and 166 against for us. We're in the positives, but they're well in the negatives with 133 versus 154. So, they're definitely not the Roosters of old. They always struggle to start well, I think, in most seasons, but this year's probably been a lot more inconsistent than most. Our completion rates are up to 82%. They're sitting down at 72. I think they're only 71 on the weekend versus our 91. Line breaks, we got 39, they got 29. Tackle breaks, 219 for us versus 191 for them. They're 2 stats that we're up there leading the best in the comp at the moment. They're not too flash. Missed tackles, 190 for us versus 214 for them. I think a lot of those are coming down that left edge there. Like I said, while Suali'i is a great attacking player, he's making some pretty poor reads there at centre at the moment. Errors, again, we're only 65, they're 75. Penalties, unsurprising, penalties conceded, we're 55 and they're 47. Very rarely are we ever going to win that stat. So overall, if you look at the way the teams have gone this season, I think we've played the more consistent team-orientated football. We showed what we can do in the first 20 minutes against Melbourne. They're absolutely outstanding team play, both on attack and on defence. So if we can produce that for 80 minutes on the weekend, I think we win comfortably. But the question is, can we do that with some of these top guys out? Let's have a bit of a look at the lineups. So first up, we've got the young fella Tuolpiki coming in for his third game up against the old dog Tedesco. You know, it's pretty hard to compare these two with, you've got the best fullback in the world up against a young fella still making his way. You know, and they're reflected in the stats with Tuolpiki only had playing a couple of games here. He's got no line breaks, no tries. The 9 tackle breaks is not too bad from 2 games. Versus Tedesco with a try, 3 line breaks, which didn't seem as many as I thought he would have had, but 29 tackle breaks. You know, their ability to bounce around, step off both feet there and leaving people grasping it here. Tackle efficiency, not too bad there for Tuolpiki at 78 versus 85 for Tedesco. But average running meters there, only 80 for Tuolpiki versus 164 for Teddy. You know, he gets the tackle day here, but shit, I'm really looking forward to Tuolpiki getting a solid 80 minutes there. The only concern is he's got a bit of a niggle in one of his ankles apparently, so I hope he does actually start, and I hope he can run freely on that. Righty-ho, Dallin, off the back of a couple of games now, up against Jackson Paulo. So Paulo's played most of their games, so you can see by the stats here, obviously he's got a little bit of a difference there, but Dallin in the first half on the wing last week was not flash. Some really poor reads there in defence, and the stats weren't overly great, but once he switched to fullback, actually, he made some really good improvements there. So I hope he takes that form onto the wing this week if he ends up playing there. 2 tries for him, 2 line breaks and 9 tackle breaks versus 6 tries, 6 line breaks and 14 tackle breaks. 3 times a game, so 3 times the stats here. Other than the tackle breaks per game, Dallin's probably leading that one. Tackle efficiency 67 for Dallin. It was down to 61 in the weekend, so shit, he needs to sort that out. Versus 76 there for Paulo. It's not amazing, but about right for a lot of wingers. 156 metres though for Dallin on average versus 144. Both good metre eaters. But yeah, hopefully Dallin can continue that those metres made. But I think he struggles a lot more when he's playing on the wing and he's taking those hit-ups off the line, whereas when he played fullback on the weekend, his kick returns were actually really, really good. Going to call that one 50-50 to be honest, because I don't think, Dallin hasn't been in outstanding form. He struggled to get back into the starting lineup. But on the back of his second half there, he's made a slight turn for the better. Sloan been relatively consistent without being, majorly outstanding. On the other wing, we've got Kossi, who's coming off the back. I think it's his 6th or 7th game in a row now versus Corey Allen, who's come in for Tupou, who went off injured in the weekend there. So he's only into his 2nd game, as you can see by the stats here. 5 tries for Kossi, 5 line breaks, 15 tackle breaks versus no tries, no line breaks, and just the 1 tackle break. 74% tackle efficiency for Kossi versus 89 for Corey Allen. Corey Allen plays a lot at fullback, so you'd expect him to have a pretty solid tackling game there. 124 metres for Kossi. His numbers coming up there for the metres on average, but Corey Allen must have only played half a game or something with only 46 metres there. So given the fact he hasn't been a regular starter and our boy Kossi's been improving every week, I'm giving that one to him quite comfortably. Next up, in the centres, Montoya up against Momorowski. Momorowski obviously struggling for game time until they decided to move Manu into the centres, so he's only coming into his 2nd game of the season here. Montoya coming into his 3rd game in a row in the centres after playing the wing for the rest of the season. 3 tries versus none, 6 line breaks versus none, 20 tackle breaks versus 2. 73% tackle efficiency, only 67 for Momorowski, so that's a positive sign for us. Might be a little hole out there on the right edge, as well as the left edge there. 157 metres on average for Montoya. That's some awesome numbers there for just 45 for Momorowski, only playing a half a game, or actually he should have played the whole game in the weekend. So that's not overly flash for him. So I think this is a solid win for Montoya over him. I really hope he comes in with a lot of confidence in the way he's been playing over the past couple of weeks. Rumours are he's signed for another couple of years over the past couple of days, so it hasn't been officially announced. But if he has, hopefully he has a big game on the back of that. So, my man Montoya. Pompey up against Suali. So this will be an interesting one for me. Like I said, Suali's like a really flash guy on attack, particularly when he's got a bit of space and you use that step. But, on defence, he's like looking a bit mud there at times. So tries 2 for Pompey, 1 for Suaalii. Line breaks 2 versus 3. I would have thought Suaalii would have had more than that. 22 tackle breaks versus 24. 79% tackle efficiency versus 83. It's interesting though, because literally watching that game in the weekend, the amount of tries that went through that gap there, maybe they've just not been counted against Suaalii because he's not actually making them. Maybe they're counting them against Keary, but between the gaps between the two of them are pretty wide open there. So hopefully we can find a few gaps through there with Pompey and Neocodia. 123 metres each. So this is a pretty even matchup for me. I think, on reputation, everyone will be trying to give it to Suaalii all day, but Pompey's just continued to improve. If Montoya has been signed, that leaves Pompey still not to be signed, so he's either playing for a contract with us or with another club, so hopefully he really steps up and shows everyone he needs to be signed. But yeah, 50-50 for that one for me. I'm curious to see how it plays out. Battle of the Sixers. So, you got two guys who are both not traditionally playing in the sixth position here. We've got a forward coming into the, and Dylan Walker there coming into the sixth. So really, strong defensive game. But he has played a lot in the halves back in the day. Manu more traditionally recently in the centres or at fullback there. So 1 try apiece, 4 try assists there for Dylan Walker versus 1 for Manu. 2 line breaks versus 1, which is quite surprising. 12 tackle breaks, though, versus 33. So Manu, definitely one to watch there breaking through those tackles, particularly when he can get up against some tired forwards. Tackle efficiency, 90%, as you'd expect from Dylan Walker, one of our better defenders, versus 83 for Manu. So neither of them really noted kickers, but can put the odd kick in, so there'll be more run and distribute. It seemed that Walker was running pretty freely off that ankle in the weekend, so hopefully we see him run a little bit more. Manu will be a handful there up against SJ on his side, so a bit of a challenge, but I think this will be a pretty even matchup here. Potentially leaning slightly towards Manu because he is one of the best players in the game at the moment, but I'm backing my man Walker to match him. Alrighty, 2 sort of similar type of halves here. Keary's been playing 5/8 recently, but moving into the halfback role here with Sam Walker being dropped. So, you see he hasn't done a lot of kicking with an average kicking metres of 165 versus SJ being our main kicker with 525. But he's going to have to step up and do a lot of the kicking because Cheese and Manu aren't really renowned kickers there. 8 try assists for SJ, 5 for Keary. 7 line break assists there for SJ versus 5 for Keary. 95 or 96% tackle efficiency versus 87. With the way SJ's played this season, for me, he takes this battle. I think Keary's going to have his handfuls this week. So I'm going to back my man SJ to really step up and take control of this game here. I think having Tuaupiki at the back there, who is a really creative runner and a ball player as well, is going to help him. We just have to be mindful that they don't try and close down his kicking game like the Storm were able to on the back half of the game last week on Tuesday there. Battle of the big boys here. So we've got the hyphens, Adam Fanua-Blake up against Jared Waireta-Hargraves. JWH is an alpha male, absolute beast, but I don't think he's as good as, or doesn't have as big an impact as Nelson had. And for the most part, I think, we were able to contain Nelson other than a few big runs there early on. So I'm really curious to see how this one goes up, both with very similar meters. Post-contact meters significantly more for Adam Fanua-Blake, though I think he's played a couple more games. Average hit-ups 11 versus 14. Tackle breaks 27 versus 4. That's really unusual for me. I would have thought JWH would have had more of those there. And more offloads as well, with 3 to Adam Fanua-Blake, but I think it's because he's had limited game time. Just that first stint that Adam had in the weekend, used to say that, Adam had there on Tuesday, he just absolutely dominated that. He was just making meters at ease. He just played such big minutes. I hope he's not too gassed after what he had to do there. I'm sure, he'll be happy to have been home and sleeping in his own bed this week. I'm sure they gave him a bit of rest. The Roosters having to travel over the last couple of days. So I'm going to give him the edge there, just purely because he's coming off the back of his best, potentially his best game ever for the Warriors. So we're going to have to watch the big fella there. He's got a good offload and a good little pass with JHH, but our man Adam for me. Wade Egan up against the Cheese. Now, this is a really interesting battle. I just hope Egan's feeling really refreshed there. I hope his head's right. I hope he gets his tackling sorted this week because he just doesn't need another head knock. We might end up losing him for the season or a decent break. Cheese off the back of one of his best games this season. He's been a bit up and down. His passing hasn't been the crispest. I don't think he's looked the fittest. But against St. George, he had a lot of really good runs. Mate, he was lightning out of there. Very, very difficult to contain. So when he's on, man, he changes the mood of the whole team. We're going to have to be very, very mindful of him around the ruck. But, my man Egan, he's just been playing, his best ever footy over the past, few rounds when he has been there. So even matchup for me. Try scoring machine there. Egan, 4 in 4 games, I think, this season versus 2. Try assists, 1 for him and none for Cheese. 1 each for the line break assist. Tackle efficiency, 95 versus 89. 2 contrasting styles, but, I'm going to call this one 50-50. Pretty hard to call because if they're both on their game, I think they can have really big impact on both teams. So just stay safe there, Big Egan. Keep your head out of the way of those hips. Bunty coming into the starting lineup again is not ideal off the back of some really big minutes last week. I don't think he'll be playing such long stints this weekend. Obviously, if we keep the guys safe there on the bench, don't lose them again. But you can see like Lindsay Collins, big minutes, starting prop there, average meters 3 times almost what Bunty's averaging. Post-contact meters, I guess with the amount of minutes they're playing, you'd expect them to be more than twice what Bunty's getting there. Hit-ups per game, Bunty only averaging 4, but he's only playing 20 minutes versus 12. Tackle breaks, 7, so Bunty's making the odd tackle break considering the minutes he's playing versus 15. Not a big offloader, our Bunty, with 4 there for Lindsay Collins. So, Lindsay Collins is a very, very solid player, not to be underestimated. So he'll play bigger minutes than Bunty, so it's going to be between Bunty and Ali trying to contain him. But, I'm going to give this nod to Collins purely on, the fact he is a genuine starting prop. He's close to state of origin material there this year they're talking about. So tough game for Bunty. I really hope he backs up and really hope he, continues to step up and show he can cover that starting props role we needed. Jackson Ford up against Nate Butcher. So Nate Butcher hasn't had a lot of minutes this year. Ford's been one of our best. So, 4 line breaks versus none. No line break assists for either of them. 91% tackle efficiency versus 94. Average meters of 87 versus 79. I think Butcher's more traditionally a 13, but he's out on an edge at the moment. Ford had an absolutely massive game in the weekend, but he missed, I think it was 8 or 9 tackles and gave away a couple of silly penalties and inside the 10s, I think, or ruck infringement. So I really hope he can step up and eliminate those little errors. And those, every game he seems to pull out a couple, even though he's an absolute workhorse. But given the fact he's our regular starter, I'm going to give it to him up over Butcher this week. But, he's a pretty solid player and pretty quick when he gets into open ground, Butcher. And we've got the other Butcher up against Marata Niakore. What do we got here? 2 each of the line breaks. 2 line break assists for Niakore, none for Butcher. 95 versus 92%. Tackle efficiency, 93 versus 84. So Niakore's a bigger man. I think he played a massive game in the weekend, but like Ford gave away a couple of city penalties. Up against that left edge there, I really, really would like to see Niakore go nuts on running over Carey all day. He's not a big man. It's not the most, strong tackler. So I think Butcher's going to have to really mount up and try and protect his halfback there because if he can't, I think Niakore can get a couple of offloads going or tackle breaks going there and light up our edge down that side. So really curious to see how he goes. What have we got here? Curran up against Victor Radley. Two kind of, you know, high energy, can go a little bit nuts at time kind of players. Curran hasn't seen a lot of starting footy lately, so he shouldn't be overly tired. He'll be trying to really prove himself there. Big loss, you know, not having Tohu there because of the work he does, you know, tidying up around the ruck there and his ability to be the, you know, almost a third half. I'm not convinced about Curran playing in that distributor role, but I'm really curious to see if he can step up and play the kind of role that we've seen from Tohu and we will see from Victor Radley. I'd really like to see Curran get in and kind of wind Radley up and see if we can get him sent off again, because he is a hot head. He does do some silly things here, but at the same time, he can have a massive impact on a game. Really, really good at ball distributor. You know, absolute workhorse with his defense. So I'm going to lean this one to another 50-50 matchup here. I mean, Radley, you know, he's an international. He was potentially on the verge of state of origin, but, you know, Curran struggling in some aspects, but I just really expect Curran to step up and show that he can play that starting 13 role until Tohu comes back. Then looking at the interchange, I think this is likely to change for us. If Tuaupiki stays fit and is able to start, at the moment we've got Freddie Lussick, Sirinen, Ali and Vaila. I expect Vaila to drop off and Sifakula to come in for his debut. We've also got Volkman, Leatao, I think it is, going and Mayu there. But given the fact that Sifakula is the only guy in the top 30 squad there, I think he would have to come in as a priority. So look for him to have his debut over Vaila. I hope we don't have him on the bench and try and have him as a makeshift forward cover, because we're really going to need the forward cover in there with the boys being tired out. So Drew Hutchinson, Crichton, Tuapuna and Matt Lodge. So they got a pretty solid bench, actually. I think this is probably the first time this season that we're probably going to lose the bench battle. Particularly with, you know, Lodge coming off the bench. He's a massive handful. And, you know, Tuapuna, like he's like a premiership winning back row there. Crichton, state of origin player, though. He was really quiet last week, the way they used him. He'll probably be looking to step up and try and put himself into New South Wales contention this week. So I think that's something that we're going to have to be really careful of, is the bench here. We don't have that same impact. Tom Ali's, you know, probably our biggest impact player there. Sirinen, I've got a lot of questions about. You know, not the biggest guy. We're going to struggle for prop cover there. So, yeah. Lussick, you know, interesting. I think you might see him come on and play a bit of a back row kind of position as well as just covering for hooker there. So, yeah, not overly confident in our bench, but really excited to see if Sifakula does get a game, and if not him, somehow we manage to get on Zion Mayu. Although he's listed as a back row, I think he's been playing a lot of prop in the New South Wales Cup and absolutely smashed it up. Few defensive deficiencies there that they'll still be trying to work on, but he's a massive boy with a massive amount of impact. So either way, really excited to see how they go. Other than the bench, I think we've got the ability to match these guys man for man. As I mentioned, they haven't really been creating a lot of structured tries. The tries they created in the weekend, I don't think they waltzed through us in the same way they waltzed through St. George. They let a lot of tries in. What we've got to be careful of is similar to the Storm in the weekend. While we match them up generally man for man and as a team, Tedesco, that guy's absolutely world class. He can just break us open at any time. Can't give him any room to run around. We can't give him that second phase ball. Suali, you know, given a bit of space, he's something we've got to worry about. Manu, if he just goes off like he can do at times, he's a real massive handful. I'm going to take a lot of effort to put him on his ass. And probably the other one for me is Brandon Smith. I hope he has an off game, but if he's on his game, he's going to be really, really hard for us to contain. For us, if he starts Tuaupiki, I'd really love to see him use that speed and that ability to find a gap, put his players off his shoulders through his gap. He's been playing outstandingly in Cup there, so really excited to see how he goes. I'm looking for a massive game from SJ I just really want him to dominate this game, show that he's world class, better than Keary. I think Keary's going to be, he's a key attacking weapon for them, but he's a bit of a liability on defence there. So I'm really looking for SJ to dominate that. And I just have to see AFB take it to a next level again, put it up over his old Kiwi teammate, now his rival, and JWH. If he can win that battle there, if Bunty can hold his own up against Lindsay Collins, I think we go a long way to having a good win here. The crowd's going to be behind us. Hopefully that stops the ref making a few stupid bloody hometown decisions like he did last week. And I reckon the boys can get up. So I'm excited. Afternoon footy. Hopefully the weather's good up there. Hopefully you're going to get to the game. Can't wait for the boys to get a nice solid 20-point win and stop bloody stressing me out with these tight foot games. Up the mighty Warriors. Warriorholic all in for 2023. Let's go.